Hello and welcome to the Diabetes Army Rebuilt podcast. My name is Dan and I'm a type 2 diabetic who's actually happened to put his type 2 diabetes in remission. And this is my podcast trying to spread awareness to the type 2 community, pre-diabetes community, or anyone that just wants to get healthier along the way. We talk insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, things of this nature. We do not talk about type 1 diabetes. That's totally different in a whole separate animal. So this is where we're at. You need to understand something. I am not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. So I'm not giving you medical advice. I highly recommend you get with your doctors and have discussions. But you can take notes on things we talk about here. I talk a lot about things that have helped me, have affected me one way or another, and I kind of just share my experiences with type 2 diabetes, and hopefully you can pull something from that and make something work for you to get better, but always check with your medical professional. I can't stress that enough. So with that said, a little background on myself. I'm a former pro athlete. I spent 12 years on the pro wrestling tour. Yes, got hit with a lot of tables and chairs and things like that along the way. My day, we were doing about 300, 320 shows a year. It's a different city every day. So I did a lot of traveling, was very active, and had no worries about type 2 diabetes, was very fit in the gym all the time. And then one day I venture into the business world and become a successful business person and wake up 400 and something pounds because I just let everything get away from me. I went for actually before I got to the 400 pound mark, I went for just a simple physical. And when I did that, I found out I was a type 2 diabetic. I was on metformin or glucophage. And once I maxed out at that, the doctors put me then on insulin. Was on over 7,000 units of insulin a month. That's correct, over 7,000 units a month. And I was pumping a lot of insulin into me. I needed it to keep my blood sugar low. I hadn't got proactive yet, and I gained 150 pounds on insulin. So, you know, that was the thing with the insulin. It's of course a hormone that will store fat on your body. It helps you with the blood sugar. In my case, it really it came on strong, and I had to wake up one day 468 pounds and say, what am I doing? And I need to take control of it, and that's what I did. So we'll do another podcast on my experience and how I put mine in remission. But today we're going to talk about something that's really interesting, and that is cinnamon, because so many people tout cinnamon, and there's companies that do cinnamon products, for example, and you know, they say taking cinnamon can really help with type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes and such. So we're not about the bro science, we're about the peer-reviewed studies, and that's what we've done. We pulled some studies off of, these come from PubMed, Cochrane Library, Science Direct, and the Web of Science, and we have some results of some studies, and they're really kind of interesting. And if you're following along with this podcast, you'll see different episodes talking about different things when it comes to the peer-reviewed studies of things that can help with type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes, and you can pick and choose what might be fun for you or something you can dig into. All right, so let's talk about cinnamon. These studies were done between 2003 and 2018. They were all done on humans. So glycemic profile in individuals with type 2 diabetes, the fasting glucose reduced from 12.9 to 52.2 milligrams. So that could be huge. If you had a let's just throw a ballpark up there, but if you were at the max of this and your blood sugar was 200, well, that could give you a 150 more or less blood sugar. Now in other people's 12.9, I'm sure that everybody gets affected differently per the individual, right? So that explains that. A1C, there was a slight bettering with the A1C, 0.27 to 0.83. So it wasn't the big effect that it seemed to have almost instantly on blood sugar. But if you stuck with it, it looks like that it did have a very positive effect, or a somewhat positive effect when it came to A1C. Don't forget, A1Cs are, over a 3-month period, like 90 days, what your blood sugar's been doing. However, I would think that if you're dropping your blood sugar from 12.9 to 52.2 on a daily basis, that could really help you. At the end of this, we're going to talk about what my protocols with cinnamon are, and you can take yours and talk to your medical professional about it. But these are what I have found. So 2 types were studied. There's just so you understand, there's different varieties of cinnamon. I use a Celian. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. That's what I use. My understanding was that was a better one. So they're talking about 1 to 6 grams of cinnamon species, mainly in powder, seed to be the way to go as far as using cinnamon with type 2 diabetes. So here's another study here. This one had 543 patients, cinnamon doses of 120 milligrams to 6 grams for 4 to 18 weeks. So reduced glucose by 24.59 to 40.52. So there's those big results again. The other study, I think, was 52. This is 40.52. Still a significant difference, right? This one went a little further, right? So total cholesterol was down 15.6 to 29.76. LDL, right, was down 9.42 to 17.21. That's really interesting. LDL down 9.42 milligrams to 17.21. That is really interesting. Triglycerides, by the way, you should be looking at your triglycerides, I believe, down 29.59 to 48.27. Really good results, triglycerides as well as the LDL. Cinnamon increased the HDL. That's the cholesterol you want to have higher, 1.66 to 1.09. So it did a good job there. A1Cs, it didn't have a significant effect. It said on this down 0.16 to 0.39. However, it did hit everything else, and that is really, really interesting. So the conclusion on that study was the consumption of cinnamon is associated with statistically significant decrease in levels of fasting plasma glucose, total cholesterol, LDL-C, and triglyceride levels, and an increase in HDL-C, which is exactly what you want to see, right? And they don't feel the results were huge as far as the A1C goes. So let's remember, A1C is the results of a 90-day of your blood sugar. So according to them, insulin has a lot of very positive effects for type 2 diabetes and for type 2 diabetics. So what do we do with this? So every morning, in my case, and again, this is just what I do, talk to your doctor, I make a coffee in the morning. I use heavy cream. I don't use half and half or anything like that. Heavy cream won't spike my blood sugar. I've done the studies on myself. Everybody's different. But I put a splash of heavy cream in it, and I put cinnamon in it, and I keep it on my counter. Boom, I nail it on every coffee I make. I actually learned this when I was wrestling in Mexico. Mexico, they have a coffee called Cafe de Ora, which is gold, and what it is, it's like a cinnamon coffee, and I fell in love with it when I was wrestling in Mexico. I was in Mexico for 3 years, and they even have like the cinnamon stick in the coffee. I love the taste of it. I thought it was really good, and it's funny because many years later, here I am putting cinnamon in my coffee again for a completely different reason. So I kind of got a taste for this while I was down in Mexico, but I put it in my coffee every morning, and I'm always refilling my cinnamon bottle. Interesting, in Canada, it was way harder to find the Celion cinnamon versus here in the United States. When I'm up there, I do business in Canada, so I go back and forth a lot. But here at home, it's not as difficult to find the different types of cinnamon as it is up in Canada. So anyways, take for this what you will. I'm going to continue with my cinnamon in my coffee. I've never done a study on myself. You know, I should have done that. I should have gone, say, 90 days or 6 months without cinnamon and then done it with cinnamon and compared what my triglycerides and my cholesterol look like. That would have been an interesting study. You know, a lot of other things play into that when you're doing some sort of a case study, though. You've got to keep everything consistent for a year, and I'm constantly changing as I'm on my health journey. So I'm just taking it for granted that a lot of things are working. And when I pull these studies off of these PubMed and places like this, it's really interesting to see. It kind of backs up my theories as far as what's working and what's not working. So there you have it. If you're a fan of cinnamon, keep it going. It's good for a lot of things that are going on in your body as a type 2 diabetic, pre-diabetic, someone's trying to get healthier. Again, I'm telling you, I'm going to keep it going. You need to check with your own doctor and see if your doctor recommends it. Make sure your doctor's living in 2024, please. I say this time and time again. If your doctor's trying to advise you off the old food pyramid, yeah, it's time to move on. However, in my case, I have a great doctor, and we bounce so much off each other. I'm in there all the time. He's my partner in my health, and I highly recommend you find someone that can be your partner in your health. So if you're looking for something, I always say, the more we can have as far as in our corner as we keep this fight up against type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes, the better it is for us. And so there's your answer to, does cinnamon work? And you can draw your own conclusions to see if it would work for you. My name is Dan. This is Diabetes Army Rebuild. Please follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. I do a lot of live streaming on TikTok, YouTube, our YouTube channel, Spotify. We're on Spotify. You can get us through Apple Podcasts, just about anywhere we are. Please leave a rating. I really appreciate that. Help us grow, and follow us and share this to somebody who might need the help. I like to keep these to about 10 minutes long so that people, you can do it while you're brushing your teeth or having a coffee in the morning. But maybe it's your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, who knows. But if you can share it, that would help me too. I really, really appreciate you. Let's create some awareness, and let's start banging the drum for type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, and mostly let's make reversing type 2 diabetes cool. Thank you so much for watching, listening, whatever you may be doing. I really, really appreciate it.